praying that everyone is staying healthy and investing wisely. This episode is about art and how you can create art out of the 3 building block shapes. Let's get started. These 3 shapes are the building blocks of art. The first shape is a square, the second shape is a triangle, and the third shape is a circle. Let's make some images from these 3 shapes. Before we get started, we can also make other shapes out of these 3 shapes. In the example, a rectangle is the combination of 2 squares. An oval is the combination of a square and half of a circle on each side. And a triangle is the combination of a square is the combination of 2 triangles. And now, let us create art out of these 3 shapes. Let's start with the triangle. First, we will make a circle. Then we will make a rectangle beside of the circle. We will not make that too low in distance from the circle. Now we will put circles around, partial circles around the rectangle. And now we erase the line. Well, we will wait to do that last. And now we will create triangles that connect to each other. Throughout the entire paper. And now, we will create upside down triangle. With 2 circles above the triangle, now we will create half a circle from the tip of the bottom of the triangle on both sides. And now we will draw another half of a circle Can you guess what this is? And now we will create another triangle that is sideways to the circles. And now we will draw two halves of a circle that is the side of each other. And then a small half of the circle that is in the middle. And then a curve for both sides, and then draw a line for half of the circles. And now we will erase the lines for the triangle, for the rectangle. And now we can create images. And now for this part, we will draw a miniature triangle at the top of the triangles. And then we will shade that in. Excellent processing. Then we will smear our finger onto the paper. And then we will erase around the edges. And now we will create a circle within the circle. And then we will shade in that circle. And then we will smear our finger to shade in the circle. And now we will draw small half circles for one side of the triangle to the other. And then we will curve the corners of the triangle and erase the corners of the triangle. And then we will shade in the half of a circle. And then we will smear our finger. And now, we will put the line of the top of a triangle inside of the triangle, or half a circle. And then we will smear that in. Keeping the outline for the triangle. And now, for the eyes, we will draw lines of different sizes that go out. All throughout the eye, going both from the outside and the inside of the eye, like a barcode. Specially designed. One eye is different from the other. We will race around the edges. We will connect one triangle edge to the other with the tip top of a large circle. Then we will create half of a circle to connect the edge of a triangle. And then we will make another half of a circle Or we will make half of a circle going out from the edge of the end, and then make another half of a circle. And then erase the other line. And then we will smoothen out the curves. Creating the half of a circle and connecting the half of a circle to a smaller half of a circle to connect that to the line of the larger half of a circle that connect to the triangle. And now, for the bottom line of the triangles, we will create a dark shade that then goes to a lighter shade for each middle part. Now we will shade this in. And now we will create a triangle on one side and a triangle on the other side. Make another triangle. We will create a line to represent the line of the clothing. It splits in half, making two squares with a curved edge. And now we have created an image out of the building blocks of art: the circles, the triangles, and the squares, which is also 2 squares equals 1 rectangle. And this is the art class of how you can create art with shapes. And these are the 3 shapes of the building blocks of art. And next time you do art, think of the building blocks. Now that we know the building blocks of art, a square, a circle, and a triangle, now let's create a person's face out of these 3 shapes. In order to create an oval, we need 1 square and 2 halves of a circle. Let's start with the square. Now, instead of creating half of a circle at the bottom, we will only create half of a circle at the top. And then we will create an angled triangle for the bottom. Very good. Now we will draw a line that goes from the middle of the triangle to the top of the half of a circle. Now, in the middle of the square, we will draw a line of where we would like the eyes to be. First, the middle of the circle is usually where the nose is located. So now we will draw a line above that of where the eyes would start. And then we would draw a line below the middle line of where the mouth would start. And now we have the building block shapes. And look, here are 4 rectangles. And now we will start with a circle. We will draw a circle starting on the line of the bottom. Now we will draw a line above the middle, or above the middle, but to where the middle of the circle is in the point of the lines, which is parallel or horizontal. And now that the circle is there, now it is time for where the eyes will be. We will measure in distance, as the edges of the circle will determine where the eyes will go. This is where the end of the circle is. So above the end of the circle is where this next oval will be. And we will draw an oval, which is a square with 2 halves of a circle. And now we will draw half of a circle with a square and the other half of the circle. Let's make sure that these two are in similar of size. Very good. And now, in the middle line, we will draw the bottom. We will draw half of a circle, and then a square that goes in the middle that is in the line of where the eyes will be, and then another half of a circle. Again, we will draw a square that is in the middle of the line to where the eyes are. Now we will draw half a circle, very good. We will also draw a square from where the bottom line of the square is. And now we will erase where the circle is and change the location of the nose and the mouth. Everyone's face is different. Usually the corner of the eye, the corner of where the jaw will be, is where the bottom of the lip starts. So now we have a new location for where the lips will be. Above the lips will go the nose. And we will draw another circle to where the top and middle line meet in the middle of the circle. And now, this is where things get interesting. We will make a triangle. On each side of the line. And then we will make another triangle upside down from the corner of where the two middle pieces are. And now we will erase where the line for the triangle was at. And now we will draw a line that connects one side from the other. And now we have made lips. We will draw a line under the lips. And now we will draw a curve only on the edges of the circle above the lips. And now we will draw another half circle. And then color that in. Now we will draw a tiny line in the middle. And we will draw lines that is next to the middle line. And now we will curve that up near the eyes. We will darken this. And now, for the eyes, we will point the edges of where the eyes are located, but yet curve the edges of the eye. And now, where the square was, we will turn that into a circle. We want to look if there's any differences from one eye and the other, and make sure that they match the size. And now we will shape the ears. We will curve up and darken the lining for the ears and erase the square that is in the middle. We will do the same thing to the other side. Now we will outline the triangle that is at the bottom and make sure that that is a smooth edge instead of the rough pointed triangle that was. And then we will create half a circle. And now we will outline the triangle and curve that with the square to where the point is not shown. We will stop the line a little bit after the curve of the ear. We will do the same thing on the other side. And now we will draw the curve of the head. And now we will erase the lines After we outline only the side lines of the square, we will draw a curve instead of a straight line and erase the lines that are not of the face. Congratulations! We have now drawn a person's face. Before we continue, we want to create a triangle. That meets at the point of the corner of what once was the square. Now we will meet the edge of that triangle to the edge of the square and the other edge of the triangle. Now we will draw a square next to the triangles very lightly. Now we will draw half of a circle. And now we will draw a big square in a line that goes down or that curves inwards. Now we will draw a half of a circle. Now we will draw a line that goes down from the midpoint of the triangles all the way down to the bottom. Now we will outline the curve without the points showing. Now we will outline from the bottom of the triangle, from the bottom of the square in the corner, all the way down. Now we will erase the middle part of where the square once was. Now we will erase the square and the half of a circle. Now we will adjust this to our likings. Now we can add a hat. Let's add a particular hat. In order to create a hat, we will start by the edge of the ear all the way to the middle part of the half of a circle. We will erase the half of a circle but yet we know that the hat should not be too much larger than the head. Now we will create half of a circle Make sure to draw lightly when you know that you may erase if you want to change this. And now we can create a cap like this, like the caps that I wear. Or we could create something different. We can erase the half of the circles and create a baseball cap. Let's draw a square. From a little bit above the eyes, but yet sort of behind the ears, a little bit on the mid part of the ears. This will be above the head because this is like a military hat. In order to create a cap like this, we must erase the half of the circles that we once made. And create half of a circle a little bit below the middle line. And draw a little bit of a line of a half of a circle, well, not half of a circle, but the tip of a circle above the line, and then erase the middle line. And erase the line, the bottom line of the triangle. Now, we will curve the edge of the cap at the top. If we want to adjust the size of the cap, We will make the adjustments if needed, and then erase the line. Now from where the curve of the ear is, we will draw a line that goes to the mid-center as we once did before. And now we will draw more lines and then draw a circle that represents the hair. We will draw more lines within them. We will outline the lips. Very good. And now, if we want to adjust the size of the cap, we can do so by drawing a line underneath the other line and erasing the line that we had prior. And now, for the background, we will create a rectangle. We want to make sure these lines are straight. We can utilize another piece of paper that has a line edge to make this straighter. And now, we will keep adjusting the lines until we feel like that is the correct calculations of the rectangle needed. And now, we will create a square in the corner. Here's the square. Now we will create circles within the square. But we will erase to make sure to calculate the circles correctly. And now we will make the square larger to add enough circles for 10 circles on each row, and we will have 5 rows. We want to make sure that these rows are done correctly and not sloppy. So what we will do is we will draw a line underneath the rows to make sure that that is straight. We also want the rows that go up and down to be straight as well. We draw the circles, then the square, then half a circle, because the cap is in front of the background. And now, we'll show you all how to create a star. We need a triangle. Very good. But this is no ordinary triangle. This is a triangle that has a sharp point. We will draw one triangle. And then we will draw a triangle that is in the particular manner of a straight line from the other triangle. We will draw that at a slanted angle. Now we will create a line. Excellent. And create a triangle that points from the middle. Now we will erase the bottom line of that triangle to create the other triangles. Now we will adjust this until we feel like this is correct. And now we will erase the lines that are in the middle. And now, with a lot of different triangles, we have now made a star. Now we want to make a bunch of little stars inside of the circles in the image. What a nice star. But to make a fast star, first you make a triangle without the line at the bottom. Then you make a line that goes from the corner of the bottom of the triangle to the top left, and then you create a straight line to the right until that gets to the size of the top triangle, and then connect the line that is on the further side all the way to the bottom left. And now we have made a very fast star. Then we just erase the lines in the middle. Excellent. Let's create a bunch of little stars. And now that we have made the stars inside of the circle, what we will do is we will get a pen and outline the edges of the stars. And now we have outlined the stars. And now we will want to outline the inner lines of where the stars are. And then we will continue with pencil. We will draw lines. In a parallel manner that measure the same length and width. We need to widen the width of the top lines. And now, we will utilize an eraser to erase the lines of the circles where the stars are, and to give time for the ink to dry. And now there was enough room for 52 stars for the American flag. Excellent. That looks so nice. Now let's outline. The rest of the art. We will put the lines for the hair. Curve around the ear, as well as the jaw, and the half of circle, which is the chin. And this soldier is at ease. We'll outline where the nose is. And a half a circle for the nostril. And a little button nose. We will put a curve for the neck to correctly adjust. We will draw another triangle to connect to that one, just to make the shirt a little more fancy. And we can make proper adjustments if needed. Now we will make a line with a half of a circle. We will make a line underneath the other line. Excellent. This looks absolutely incredible. And now, let's erase the lines in the background. And now we have successfully erased the lines of the squares and circles, and we have created an image of a military woman that has the American flag in the background of the image. For the line, we will create a line in the middle of the circle. And now the image looks very nice. And this image was created with the building blocks of art. And the building blocks of art is squares, circles, and triangles. And make sure that when you do art, that you think of the building blocks of art. Now think of the blank canvas. What do you see when you see the building blocks of art? Perhaps it is time for you to embrace your creativity with art.